Welcome everyone to our mini English lessons with Dave Queensland. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you are all keeping safe and well. Just for your information, we are recording this session. My name is Jonas. I'm the in-country manager for Brazil at Dave Queensland International. Dave Queensland is a government institution with 140 years of experience in the education industry in Australia. Today's session is Cambridge examination preparation for FCE and CAE, with a focus on describing pictures in speaking. We are today with Rocco, one of our teachers at TAFE Queensland. There will be a 20-minute lesson, then 5-minute information session, and 5 minutes at the end for questions and answers. All attendees are muted, so please keep your microphone off during the session. Any questions or answers can be written in the chat box. Enjoy the session. Over to you, Rocco.
Thank you very much, Jonas, and welcome everybody to our mini lesson for today. So we're in a new program. We're looking at the Cambridge English examinations. Now, for some of you, perhaps you haven't heard of these examinations, but there are 5 different levels. Unlike, say, something like IELTS, which has the one exam and the one level, and you're rated, the Cambridge exams have 5 levels. So we're looking at CAE and FCE, which is the level 2 and the level 3 exam. These are the most common ones, and people do use this examination to get into, say, university or colleges, or for professional reasons and things like that. A great exam, and we're going to have a look at the speaking part, which is a little bit different to perhaps IELTS or TOEFL, maybe other exams that you're used to. Okay, so let's have a look at our plan for today. Okay, so we'll look at part 2 of the speaking exam, where students or test takers are presented with 2 pictures to talk about. Also, we'll look at analyze the task and some sample responses. We'll look at perhaps some good and not so good responses, and how to react to your partner, because it's part of the speaking test. You're actually, you don't do it alone, like with IELTS or TOEFL. You actually do it together with a partner. So there are 2 of you at the same time. So it's a little bit different, this speaking test. And also there's a part 3, there's a collaborative task. You're given some pictures and you have to talk about them as well. So part 2, part 3, a little bit different, but you do have visuals that you have to use and talk about. So we'll be having a look at that. Now, let me show you an example task. Part 1 of the speaking test is just about introducing yourself or talking about where you're from and what you do. Very kind of everyday kind of questions. And then they move on to part 2. Now, in part 2, you've got something like this. Compare and contrast these pictures. You've got 2 pictures here. Compare and contrast them, and say which activity is more effective for the students. That's the task. So you've got 1 minute to talk about it. And after you finish your minute, your partner has to comment as well. So if you have a look at the pictures, it looks like a classroom environment. You see these students are working together. In the background, more people working together. They're kind of together here, but they're looking at the teacher. So I guess a little bit similar, a little bit different. But compare and contrast these pictures and say which one is more effective for the students. I don't know which one you feel. Maybe you feel the one on the left or the one on the right. But this is a sample activity. They do give you 20 seconds to prepare and then a minute to talk about this. Seems like a reasonable task. Okay. How many things do you need to do in the task? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? What do you think, everyone? How many things do you need to answer in this 1 minute? 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things, or 4 things? What do you think? Go to the chat box and let me know. Do you think it's 1, 2, 3, or 4? Any ideas? You can just have a look at the question one more time. How many things do you have to do? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Okay, so we've got a few votes there. Let's see what everyone's thinking. Very good, Ibtisen. Yeah, Margarita, I think you've got the right idea. Not quite, Andre, but yes, Hector, I think you've got the right idea. Well done. Okay, let's just have a look at the question again. So look here, you've got to compare the pictures. You've got to contrast the pictures. That's 2. And the third thing is to say which one is more effective. Now, compare and contrast, it kind of looks like the same thing, right? But compare means to find things that are similar and different. But contrast means to find things that are different only. So compare and contrast. So you're looking for similarities, differences, and which activity is more effective. So actually there are 3 things you have to do in this minute. So it's a lot to do. Let's have a look at a sample answer now. See what you think. This is student A. They say, well, in the first picture, there are 4 students who are working together in a group. That's true. The teacher is not controlling the class. Yeah, I didn't see a teacher, actually. The clothes they are wearing are very casual. The room looks untidy. In the second picture, okay, I see what the speaker's doing. They've moved on to the second picture. The students are sitting in groups. Okay. The teacher is controlling the class. Okay. The students are dressed formally. Yeah, they are. They're wearing like jackets and suits and like more formal uniform, right? The room looks new and modern, true. It could be a private school, maybe. So, guys, do you think this is a good response or a poor response? Have a look at that. The grammar is actually fine. Good or poor? Think about this. Did the speaker compare and contrast the pictures? And did the speaker say which activity is more effective? So I've gone back to the task. Is this a good response or a poor response? What do you think, everyone? Okay, I've got a few votes there. That's what everyone's thinking. Yeah, Margarita, I think you're right. Carlo, yes, good, Liseth. I think you're on the right idea here. Andre, well done. Yes. Very good. Yeah, a few more responses there. I'm not sure, Jesse, that's okay. Diana, very good. Yes, well, I think most of you there are on the right track. Because the first thing is the speaker did not compare and contrast the pictures. All the speaker has done is describe the pictures individually. Look at that, the grammar is perfect. The vocabulary is perfect. But this person would lose a lot of marks because they did not compare and contrast. And which activity is more effective? Nope, the speaker did not mention that at all. So in fact, this is a poor response because the person didn't answer the question. Okay, let's have a look at student B. This is student B's response. It's kind of similar. It's similar, but let's see. Do you think this one is a good or a poor response? Is it better, worse? Think about if the speaker compared and contrasted pictures. Which activity is more effective? What do you think, guys? Let me know. Go to the chat box. Is it a good or a poor response? Okay, got a couple of votes, maybe a couple more. Tell me what you think, guys. If you're confident, let me know. All right. Yeah, looks like everyone's on the same page. Very good, Sehyun. Good. Thanks, Cecilia Thelma. Well done. Catherine, very good. Yes, it seems like everyone's on the right idea here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, so compare and contrast. Well, look at the language here. Instead of, whereas, more modern, more formally, unlike, more effective, more comfortable, more active, lots. So the speaker has actually blended the two together. Rather than talking about the photographs individually, the speaker has blended together by using that. So yes, and does the speaker say which one's more effective? Absolutely, it's the first photo. And the speaker gives a reason why as well. Yep. The only thing is, in terms of compare, it is a good response. The only thing I'd say, just mention something that's similar about the picture. That's the only thing it really needs in this answer. So for example, you could say, in both cases, the students are seated in groups. In both cases, the students seem engaged. However, that's all. Let's have a move on to now to the comments. So after you talk about your photograph, the person next to you has to comment on the same picture as you. The examiner will say, well, what do you think? So this is what the examiner might say. So let's say the student or the candidate is called Mary, and the examiner will say, well, what do you think? Which of these two classrooms would you like to study in? And you're supposed to give just a very brief answer, like 20 seconds. Mary says, oh, definitely the first one. Like George was saying, there is more interaction in this one. Do you think this is a good way to respond or not? What do you think, everyone? Good, bad, or not sure? Because you have to comment. Is this a good way to respond? Does Mary really need to mention what George says? What do you think? Yeah, remember, you've only got 20 seconds. You don't have a long time. Not sure. A regular response. Well, there is an advantage of what Mary has done. Let's have a look more closely. Like George was saying, so this is the important thing, is that shows that Mary has actually listened to what her partner was talking about. There's more interaction in this one. So it's okay because she's given an opinion and she's recognized what her partner has said. So in this particular exam, one of the problems is that people don't listen to each other. They just respond for themselves. But it's important to include what your partner is saying. So I think this is actually okay because Mary has said her view and included what her partner has said. Yes, but unfortunately, if you give more explanation, the examiner will cut you off because you've only got, say, about 15 or 20 seconds. But okay, let's contrast. Let's say it's George's turn. Mary has described and compared and contrasted the pictures. Which of these two classrooms would you like to study in? George says this one. Now, in the previous one, Mary agreed with George. But let's have a look here. Mary says, oh, sorry, that should be George. I see what Mary was saying about interaction, but I would lean more towards the second one, purely because how comfortable the desks and chairs are. Or what do you think of this response? Does it answer the question? Does it include the partner? Does it give a reason? So is it any better to the previous one? What do you think, everyone? Good, bad? Not sure. We've got a couple of votes. I think it does answer the question, Carla, because it's a very brief question. Which of these two would you like to study in? So it's just a very brief one. It's not a minute. You're only allowed 15 or 20 seconds for this. I kind of agree with you there, Hector. It is better. Maya, yes, I think it's a better response. In one case, I see what Mary was saying. So it's kind of like a concession. So that means you've listened to what your partner said, but you'll find that if you disagree with your partner, it actually forces you to say more. Because if you agree with your partner, it's hard to really extend. This is a more extended answer than the previous one, because I'm disagreeing. I see what Mary was saying, but I lean more towards the second one because of how comfortable the desks and chairs are. So this is a better response. So if you're worried about your answer being too short, then disagree with your partner. You're allowed to. That's one of the things about this exam. Okay, in part 3, you've also got pictures as well, but the task is a bit different. They give you a bit of background. Imagine the university you attend wants to organize 2 activities to welcome new international students. They present 4, but you've got to pick 2. That means 2 you have to eliminate. What are the benefits of these ideas? And which 2 would you choose? So actually, you've got to talk about the benefits of all of them. And in the end, you've got to pick 2. So you've got about 4 minutes for this task. 4 minutes to talk about the benefits of each, and then select 2 that you would choose. But rather than talking about it individually, you have to do it together with your partner. So maybe one activity is provide like some food, maybe a chance to socialize, maybe show a movie, play a game, or maybe the 4th one here is have like a question and answer session or information session. So the benefits of each, and then pick 2. That's the task. Food and games, quite good. Yeah, I suppose food and games are handy because there's more interaction. The movie, there's not much interaction, I suppose. Okay, so now we're talking about turn taking. How would you begin? Would you begin with, shall I start? Is it a good way to begin? You go first. How about, would you mind if I started? Or what do you think? Have a look at this one. How to begin the task with your partner. Would you choose A, B, C, D? All of them? None of them? Or maybe there's only a couple that you would choose. What do you think, everyone? How would you commence a collaborative task like this? Okay, good. Got a few votes. Yeah, you're right about C, Catherine. It is polite. Yeah, very good, Carla. I don't know about that, Rossio and Margarita. It's kind of, you're not being very assertive with that one. Not all of them, Veronica. There might be a couple. Yeah, Olga, I'm not quite sure about that one. Maybe later, but not so much to begin with. So, okay, guys, so we've got a few different ideas here. I think something like, shall I start? It's polite. I think so that's kind of useful. You go first? No, it's like, I'm too scared to begin. You start. It puts more pressure on your partner. Would you mind if I started? It's very similar to A, but in fact, it's just a little bit more polite and it's a little bit more complex. So that's a really good one. What do you think? Again, no responsibility. That is a poor way to begin. It puts more pressure on your partner. And in real life, like in a work situation, you wouldn't do that. So I think A and C are probably a more polite way to begin a collaborative task. Okay. Then after you've been talking about the pictures, you've said something about the benefit or which one you prefer. But how would you get your partner to respond? Your turn. Or what do you think? Do you agree with that? Am I on the right track, do you think? On the right track is an idiom to say, do you think I'm answered the question well, or do you think I'm speaking in a good way, or my ideas are good? Have a look at those. Which of them would you use and which of them would you not use? Oh, wow, got lots of votes already. Yeah, that's, Carla, I'm not quite sure about A. A doesn't include what you've been saying. So yeah, there's a couple there. Yeah, what do you think? Yeah, there's some that are better than others. Let's have a look. It's your turn. Don't do that. It's kind of like, I'm finished, stop, you start. It's very disconnected, I think. What do you think? Again, it's a bit disconnected. It's like, I'm finished, now it's your opinion. But if I say these two, do you agree with that? I'm actually forcing my partner to comment on what I've said. So they can agree and support what I've said and maybe add more, or they can disagree. Same with D. Am I on the right track? It gives them a chance to comment on what I've said. So that means it's more inclusive rather than A and B, which is very separate. So A and B, definitely not. It separates, it's disconnected. C and D is a good way to invite your partner in. And it's a good way to kind of direct them more towards a more collaborative task. Because in part 3, you really assessed on collaboration. It's one of the criteria. Or we didn't talk about movies. I've talked about the food. And then I say to my partner, well, I've spoken about food. How do you feel about the Australian film? Showing the Australian film. So that could be another thing of, directing towards another one. I'm targeting a photograph for my partner to speak about. So these 3 are more inclusive rather than separate. Okay, so that gives you kind of a good idea about part 2 and part 3 of the Cambridge examinations. Part 2 and part 3 deal with visuals. And as you can see, there are individual tasks and collaborative tasks. And the importance there is to try to answer the question, make sure you do that, but also to try and link together with your partner. They're not individual tasks. Okay, guys, so just we're going to have a few minutes for questions and answers. That's very handy. You might pick up a bit more information and detail, so hang around for that. But just before we get there, just briefly, I want to talk about some of our courses here at TAFE. Of course, we've got General English, 6 levels. We've got English for academic purposes, IELTS preparation, and Cambridge FCE and CAE preparation. One of the advantages of the courses, if you do them at TAFE, and if you pass your assessment, you can get direct entry into our certificate and diploma courses. As long as your score is equivalent of an IELTS 5.5 with FCE and an equivalent of an IELTS 6.0 with Cambridge CAE, if you pass the test, direct entry, you don't have to do a formal exam. Some of you may prefer to do the exam and use it for other purposes. That's fine. Like you can use the CAE examination for permanent residency in Australia. Some university or colleges, even in your home country, accept the Cambridge examination. So it's a good one there. Jonas, anything else for you to add?
Hello, Rocco. Yes, sure. Thanks for that. Just answering one question there from Andre. Is the course online? We do offer the virtual English course, yes. So if you want to have more information, I can send you my email address and we can discuss about it. Okay. So talking a little bit about the price, the general English price, the price for any of our general English levels or academic courses is 220 Australian dollars per week. And there's also a material fee of 110 Australian dollars, 12-week block. And we have no enrollment fee. Okay. So as for the link where you can register for the future classes, I will drop it in the chat box for you. And at the moment, we are focusing on the FCE and CAE Cambridge examinations. So next week, we will look at report writing. Okay, so we offer English courses and vocational programs in different fields. Please feel free to contact us. We have staff who have different nationalities to support our students from around the world. So, and we might be able to assist you in your own language. Okay, so back to you, Rocco, for the questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Jonas. All right, everybody, we do have a few minutes left for our mini lesson today. Please feel free to ask me a question. It could be about anything. If it's about, the Cambridge examinations or about other aspects of English, I don't mind. Or even something about Australia or TAFE, or I don't mind. Happy to answer that. Just type your answer in the chat box. Thank you. Your answer about online. Yes, Catherine, I do think it's one of the advantages of the Cambridge examinations in the speaking test. There is that collaboration, and I love it. And preparing students for it is really good because it makes people more sensitive, I think, to listening to others. So it's a great thing, and I like it. The other tests don't do it, like IELTS or TOEFL or PTE. They don't do it. Oh yes, Margarita, the PET exam. That's also one of the Cambridge ones. You do have to do the same thing. Yes, it's applies to all 5 levels. The proficiency, which is CPE, CAE, which is the 2nd level, FCE 3rd level, PET 4th level, and KET the 5th level. There's also a series for young learners, children as well. For those of you with kids, the FCE, PET, and KET also, there's a children's version as well. Yes, Catherine, there is a lot of information on FCE. We have, of course, our preparation class, but if you go to the Cambridge examination website, lots of materials there. There's also a good practice website called FLOJO, FLO -JO, FLOJO. They're been around for years, really good practice activities. Let's say if it's just for conversational English, the Cambridge exams are useful because it's more of a general English focus rather than academic focus like IELTS or English for academic purposes. But otherwise, you can do general English. We've got 5 levels: elementary, pre-intermediate, intermediate, upper intermediate, and advanced. So they do look at a lot of everyday contexts for common contexts or work contexts as well, especially in the higher levels. That's the best one for conversational. You will find also that our teaching style is very communicative. So even when we're teaching reading or grammar or writing or listening, there's a lot of interaction because we have a very student-centered approach where the teacher is more of a guide and students are forced to, you see that those pictures from before, we put our students into pair work, group work all the time. You're constantly interacting rather than working independently. More useful adverbs, all of them are useful. It just depends on your context, Catherine. If you're driving, quickly and slowly are important. Carefully could be important. So the adverbs you need to know are more useful. But of course, you've got adverbs of manner. You've got adverbs of degree. And sometimes the position changes after the verb. He drives carefully. Or for modification or degree. I interestingly found out that, so it can go before the verb. Want to know more vocabulary? Academic vocabulary? Well, Cambridge is more of a general English examination. So it is broad, but something like IELTS preparation or English for academic purposes. Probably the IELTS preparation is the one where you learn more academic vocabulary because of the level, and it's an academic English examination. The English for academic purposes is good, but it focuses more from band 5 to 5.5. IELTS, I think, Lizette, would be yeah, like I teach the IELTS preparation class. We're constantly looking at more formal language. And if you speak a Latin language, you're probably more likely to know these words, like the environmental conditions will become worse. It's okay. The environmental conditions will be exacerbated. Exacerbated means the same thing as become worse, but it's more formal. So we do a lot of that in our IELTS preparation. Okay. Oh, thanks, Catherine. Appreciate your feedback. Okay, guys, look, I'm pretty sure that's it for today. We've gone a bit over time there, so thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you again for our next masterclass, next mini lesson, sorry. Thank you and take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you all for your attendance. Okay, so I'm finishing the session now. I hope to see you all next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.